Alhamdulillah. Obviously, there's a whole network of role players involved, from the mission team to Auntie Fatima and her crew here in Cape Town, Alhamdulillah, as well as the Muassasa, the Ministry of Haj. There's the airport authorities. So there's a very big coordination that takes place. And this entire operation is to ensure that each and every Haji reach their home safely. So for this to happen, time is always very critical in terms of its management when the Hujjaj depart, because we very often find that schedules for flights, people are aware of their schedules, but leaving Makkah is always bittersweet. Subhanallah. The Hujjaj, they enjoyed their Hajj, they won the Mashair, they were on Arafah, Mina, etc. They are also tired. Many of them, they long to get home, they want to be with their families. And in the midst of all of this, there's also the excitement to see their families. And very often in this regard, people tend to overlook certain crucial aspects of traveling, because in traveling, time management is always crucial. So from the time that the buses are loaded until the journey from either Makkah or Azizia into the Jeddah airport, there's a great need for people to ensure that everything happens timeously. That's why you find that buses are loaded I think at the moment it's about 8 hours before flights. And why is this? Because of past experiences. What we must keep in mind is that when people come into Saudi Arabia, some land via Medina and some land via Jeddah. But on the outbound, essentially most people are leaving via Jeddah. So Jeddah airport is extremely busy. And besides your Hujjaj, you also have your other travelers, you have your tourists, etc. Although the new airport in Jeddah, the Terminal 1, has been designed to facilitate for that. But still, the process of getting the Hujjaj to leave, they load it onto the buses. Luggage is also always a crucial part, because even though the buses are in great comfort, they have not been designed for carrying luggage. And I'm sure that many of our older generations might remember the days when luggage was carried on the roofs, etc. Nowadays that is no longer possible. Safety requirements, etc. All of that is crucial. The package space underneath the bus is very limited. In fact, last year we had a few incidents where people utilized certain package and storage facilities on the buses which were not technically designed for that, and it resulted in people forgetting their luggage, and it led to some challenges in that, people forgetting their luggage. Sometimes from the start, when people are loaded onto the buses, Alhamdulillah, there the Saudi team plays a very critical role, and they have to cooperate with the agents, with the operators, to ensure that the correct Hujjaj are loaded onto the correct bus and along with their luggage. So it needs a lot of coordination.
So how does that happen to make sure that the correct Hujjaj on the proper...
That is why a manifest is prepared beforehand. Because you see, depending on which flights previously, you must keep in mind, we speak about the Jeddah airport, but there's a number of terminals. There's currently the new Terminal 1, then there's the old Hajj terminal, then there's the North terminal. So these three terminals, depending on which airlines you are traveling with, will determine which terminal you actually need to depart from. So therefore, the operators, they need to prepare a manifest, and that manifest determines which Hujjaj, the time of the travel, the airlines they're traveling with, the terminal they're traveling from. They then become, what they call badged together. So their passports are together along with the manifest, because remember, you only receive your passport as you are departing the kingdom. Prior to that, you have your band for identification. So the passports from the building, the buses are now labeled. So the bus indicates to you which flight and terminal that bus is for. So the Hujjaj on that manifest, they are checked by the agent, by the Muassasa, by the Saudi mission, to ensure that the correct people on that bus. Luggage are ideally marked, so then what can be fitted onto the buses is fitted. But remember, the Hujjaj are not allowed to take any luggage with them inside the bus. Whatever is fitted in the bottom, that goes. Other than that, the operator needs to make an arrangement for transport, normally by way of a truck, which then needs to ensure that it stays with that bus. One of the big challenges is that sometimes the drivers who are driving these buses, they are not local Saudis. So they are either from Egypt or from one of the other Arab countries, or very often they are from one of the African, Arab-speaking countries. So these drivers are not always very familiar with the road. Sometimes in all of this, road closures takes place, detours are put into place. So if the drivers are not familiar, then what is supposed to be a 2-hour trip can sometimes end up being a 4-hour trip, a 6-hour trip. And in the past, it happened that Hujjaj missed their flights. And the last thing that the kingdom wants is for Hujjaj to remain behind after having left their flight, because now the challenge you have is to facilitate those Hujjaj until you're able to find another flight, because during that period of time, flights are full. So now you need to provide for them. So that is why the buses leave approximately 8 hours before the flight. The trip from Azizia or Makkah to Jeddah is supposed to be 2 hours, you should be there. After that, because from the hotel they have to go to the offices of the Muassasa, where the manifest is presented, then the passports are released. Then along with the official from the Muassasa, the passports are handed to the official in charge of the bus. At that point in time, the Hujjaj are not yet given their passports. They receive the passports when they, alight the bus at the airport. As they come out of the bus, each one is given their passport individually. The names are called out. And then there's another official from the Ministry of Haj, as well as a Sauk mission worker, and as well as an official from the operator, the agent. They are also required to be present to ensure that there's confirmation that each and every Haji received the airport. So the coordination, I must tell you, between these various role players over the years have become very refined, very good understandings, and relationships have been developed. So when the bus arrives early at the airport, there is a special holding area. And in that holding area, they've got toilet facilities at the airport. They've also got, this is now at Terminal A, or Terminal 1 actually, the main terminal, Terminal 1. And then they will also have, they've got like a tuck shop there, because sometimes the people need to wait there because the bus is only allowed to come up 2 hours before the flight. From the bus, they get their passports, they buy their Zamzam, and they go straight into the check-in queues, because the actual seating area of the airport is not designed to cater for those huge amounts of people coming in at one time. So they cannot have people coming in and waiting for a flight. So as you come off the bus, the processing starts. From the ministry issuing the passports into the airport. There you, for a short while, if there is some time still, you'll sit in the waiting area closest. You will be made to sit there rather in the seating area closest to the check-in counter. Once that check-in counter is cleared of the previous flight, you immediately start going to the counter and you will start with the check-in. At that process, the airline is there. There's also an official from the Ministry of Haj is there, and there's also a SAWAK official there. So Alhamdulillah, throughout the entire process, you will find, even in the holding area, you will find that there's a SAWAK official there, and we have a constant line of communication with the bus driver, with a person from the group or the agent. If there's somebody on the bus, normally they will appoint somebody on the bus with a Haji, and then also with the truck driver who's handling the luggage, because we need to ensure that when that bus comes up, in order to have the Hujjaj alight in order to enter the airport and the terminals that they can now go for the check-in, we need to ensure at that time that the luggage is also there. So the coordination between the bus, the luggage, all of this, and Alhamdulillah, Allah has made technology available so that all of that happens on the phone and via phone calls, via WhatsApp, etc., whatever means of communication is available. Then the Hujjaj are checked in, and for that entire process, Alhamdulillah, the SAWAK mission team stays with the Hujjaj. They assist the Hujjaj, they prepare the trolleys. When the Hujjaj come, everything, they get their trolleys, they assist them to go in, direct them to the necessary counters. And then once they check in, we remain on hand until the last Haji is checked in, because we found sometimes there's either issues with luggage, or there's issues with visas, or issues with passports. And Alhamdulillah, in the past, the mission team has always been able to resolve most of the issues. Sometimes we need to arrange for other tickets There was even an occasion when they didn't want to allow a Haji to board because of some, what they call it, a flag on his passport. And we needed to get the consulate involved, and then all of these, and all of this happens, in minutes, because we don't have time, because our job is to ensure that Haji, along with the luggage, gets onto that flight in order to go home. And Alhamdulillah, from there, the communication, once they are boarded, the Saudi team only leaves that terminal once the last Haji has gone through to check in. Once they leave the counter, they go through immigration, and that is when that group is done. Sometimes you find that the number of groups on different flights. You understand? There will be Qatar, there will be Emirates, there will be Ethiopia. Now, Ethiopia is a very strange thing, because Ethiopia leaves from a different terminal, because it leaves from North Terminal. The African airlines, they all leave from North Terminal, which means if there's at the same time flights on the Terminal 1 as well as on the North Terminal, then you need to split your team, because you have to then ensure that you run those same processes on all the terminals at the same time. We even had an occasion once we even had only 2 Hujjaj that were actually booked on a flight. I think it was an Egyptian Airlines flight, because they were going after Hajj to Egypt, which was departing from the Hajj terminal. We had to arrange for 3 different teams to be on the main terminal, the North Terminal, and the Hajj terminal at the same time. And whether it is 200 Hujjaj or 2 Hujjaj, all credited to Saudi, they give them all the same service and run the same distance to look after all of the South African Hujjaj. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And it's been my pleasure and honor to have served with them. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.